This here is the OnePlus Pad. For those that don't want an iPad, good Android tablets are hard to find even in 2023. This promises to take the best bits of the iPad and marry them to the freedom of Android. Does it succeed? Let's find out in this video. The only color available is Halo Green, and that is no bad thing. The design here has been inspired in many ways by the iPad. In fact, the way the stylo attaches to the side of the tablet, to the folio, and keyboard cases are designed, it's a straight lift from the iPad Pro design. Whereas the iPad has sharp edges due to its iPhone 4 generation inspired squared off design, the OnePlus Pad has rounded edges all around. In practice, this is the more comfortable design to hold, as it does not dig into your hands as much. Overall, it's a very pleasing design to look at and use. This is still a heavy tablet. At 552 grams, you will feel its heft when you're using it without accessories such as the folio case or magnetic keyboard. If you're considering buying this tablet to do a lot of reading, the weight may be an issue. You are probably better off sticking to something like an iPad mini. Now there are two ways to look at this display. You can either crunch the numbers, and they're not bad at all for this price point. So this is a 144Hz screen that gets up to 500 nits of brightness. That matches many Apple products. It is still an IPS LCD panel, so blacks are actually grays. Also, it's been debated whether the SoC inside, the MediaTek Dimensity 9000, is powerful enough to drive this display at 144Hz or not. The other way is to appreciate it for what it is, a delightful, crisp and smooth display that makes reading or watching videos on it a joy. Any pictures you have on social media also pop out more than any iPad in true Android fashion. So, at the end of the day, it scores where it really matters. And for the price, with its more squared out aspect ratio, the display is a big win for this tablet. I've always enjoyed watching older 4:3 aspect ratio content on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and this is similarly well suited to that task, with its 7:5 ratio screen, which OnePlus calls Read Fit, even if there are slight black borders on either side of the image. The Dimensity 9000 is last year's flagship processor from MediaTek. Without going too much into technical details, what's the experience like using this tablet on a daily basis? For the most part, and for most people, it's great. The experience is largely fluid and smooth, as you would expect from a 2023 Android tablet. Apps download, install and open pretty quickly, and it certainly feels like a tablet that will last at least 3 years whilst being fairly quick with its performance. However, the animations still leave a lot to be desired, and there is jerkiness associated with the OS at certain times. It may skip a frame or two when scrolling too fast. When going or exiting full screen on a YouTube video, the animation is non-existent sometimes, and it exits with a jerk. This is mainly when accessing YouTube through a browser, but it can happen in the app as well. Apart from this occasional hiccup, the tablet stays nice and cool at most times, and this is certainly a plus, as it is not always the case with other tablets and phones. So it does well thermally. The Dimensity 9000 has been known to perform well for games, and for the ones I tried, it performed smoothly and without any issues. Really, there's not much to complain here. We could go into frame rates and other technical details, but I feel that's missing the point with this tablet and the audience it targets. In-hand performance in the real world is more than satisfactory. Let's talk about the folio case briefly. It has strong magnets and attaches to the tablet perfectly and stays there, as you would expect. It covers it almost completely, with the obvious exception of the large camera and its 3 long edges. It offers exactly 2 viewing angles, and this can be very limiting if you're watching content lying down or in any posture when you're not at a desk. The inside is nice and soft to protect the screen and the back of the tablet, but that's as far as it goes. It's better than nothing, and if you intend to use the tablet only as a tablet, then this will do nicely for watching videos and keeping the tablet upright. Also remember, it can't hold the weight of the tablet if you try to lift it with the bottom part of the folio case. The Smart Keyboard Folio for the iPad offers a keyboard within the same dimensions, and that is a big advantage over this, even if the price point is totally different. The magnetic keyboard for the OnePlus Pad does offer a keyboard and trackpad in a similar form factor, and would be a better option for those that do any amount of typing. It is again restricted in the number of viewing angles it offers, just like the folio case though. Overall, this accessory is very limiting and almost something that is only worth it if you want a basic cover that can double up as a stand. One area this tablet really impressed me with was the battery life. Even after almost 6 hours of screen on time, it showed a 30% remaining battery. It's supposed to have a 30-day standby endurance, and I wouldn't doubt that, given the fact that it barely lost charge during the day and a half I let it idle. In fact, it feels slightly stronger in this department than most iPads I have used. So a big win for the OnePlus Pad. And to sweeten the deal, the 67-watt charger brings you up to full charge in 1 hour. I'm not sure how relevant a tablet's cameras are, besides the ability to scan documents. The camera module itself has been placed in the center of the back of the tablet. Whilst this is great when holding the tablet in landscape mode, it does get in the way every time you hold it in portrait mode and kind of spoils the experience of holding the tablet like a tablet for me. In terms of specs, the rear is a 13 megapixel camera capable of shooting up to 4K 30fps video, and the front is an 8MP camera that does a max of 1080p 30 frames per second. The pictures that come out of the front camera are, as expected, passable for the most part, if quite vibrant. They do start to fall apart when you zoom in too much. It is more than adequate for scanning documents, though. The front camera uses a technology like Apple's center stage called Limelight. This keeps you front and center during video calls and meetings by punching into the 8MP image. The speakers get really loud on this tablet. If I was to sum up the speaker experience for this tablet in one sentence, it would be to say that you will never be left wanting in this department. However, the sensitivity of the volume towards the higher levels is a bit too much. That means the volume will increase gradually till about the 3/4 mark and then suddenly spike to very loud levels. However, unlike small tablets like the iPad Mini 6, which can sometimes be hard to listen to in loud environments, despite having twin speakers, this tablet gets extremely loud with its 4-speaker system. Another big win for the OnePlus Pad. One of the most limiting factors for Android tablets has been Android. So whilst the overall experience is pretty fluid with this tablet, all of Android's quirks or lack of attention when compared to Apple is not gone. For example, you cannot connect this tablet to an external monitor. At least I couldn't figure out a way to do this easily. You can still cast the screen, but that's not the same as having a seamless USB Type-C or HDMI connection. And that's a shame, because given the vivid display that this tablet has, it can work very well as a secondary screen. Having the ability to connect to an external display also means that you can travel with this tablet whilst being able to connect to a keyboard and mouse and monitor for more intensive tasks or for longer durations. Well, it's either due to the USB 2.0 port that this tablet has, or the fact that it just hasn't been enabled on this tablet, but connecting to an external display is simply not possible. Then let's look at the keyboard itself. The keyboard is not full-sized like on an iPad, stretching to the corners of the display, either in landscape or portrait mode. Instead, you are greeted by a smaller keyboard somewhat similar to what you would find on a smartphone. The first few days I used this, I was debating whether this is a good thing or not. It certainly felt like you had less stretching to do to reach the corners of the keyboard. Although when you're holding the tablet in landscape mode, it is a bit of a stretch to get to the center of the screen. Although the keyboard itself can be resized slightly and moved around. Now, I'm sure that there are ways and means to quickly resize this keyboard to a traditional style full width look, but again, this option was hard to find in the settings and seems like an experimental feature. Then there is the orientation sensor. I simply cannot understand why Android cannot make this as smooth as iPads. Although it is not bad, the way the orientation changes at the last millisecond when you're changing your hold on the tablet makes it feel very jerky and unnatural. Also, if you talk about first-party apps such as Facebook, whilst they work well in portrait mode, they simply do not fill the screen in landscape mode. This is unlike the iPad, which fills up the screen irrespective of what orientation you're holding the iPad in. In 2023, this seems inexcusable and should have been addressed a long time ago. Even in other third-party apps, the reliability and consistency of performance is much better on the iPad. Even where I thought that the OnePlus Pad would have an advantage given the extra RAM, it did not open up the apps as consistently as the iPad. Now, all this is not to say that the operating system does not have its advantages. In fact, it has several. One of the main bugbears with the iPad OS for me has been the lack of flexibility when it comes to installing extensions for Chrome. No such problem with the OnePlus Pad. Simply download a browser like the Kiwi browser and install official extensions from the Google Chrome Store. It makes working with this tablet as a productivity tool much easier and much more meaningful. You can share the data of your OnePlus phone without going into settings, and there are some continuity features as well, such as AutoConnect that transmit pictures in real time from the phone to the tablet via cross-screen transmission. It also works for SMSs and notifications. However, overall the fact remains that the software is what will continue to distinguish Android tablets from iPads for a long time, until Google steps in and makes this a much more refined and comparable experience. I really like the OnePlus Pad. It is a very compelling tablet at this price point, and the vibrancy of the screen is truly outstanding. Once you've watched your favorite movies or shows on Netflix on this tablet, it will be hard to go back to even an iPad. Such is the impact of a nice, bright and vivid screen. If you don't have a specific use in mind, then this is all the tablet you need, which is to say that if you want a tablet for tablet-y things, reading, if you can live with its weight, watching videos, listening to music even, all these tasks are handled well by the OnePlus Pad. This is Gen 1 of the OnePlus Pad and it's looking great. In its first attempt, OnePlus has attempted to tick all the major boxes when comparing to an iPad, whilst leaving out smaller details. Things will only get better with future iterations. Even with its shortcomings, this is a very compelling tablet to own and one of the best options at the lower end of the market. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing to this channel and liking and sharing this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.